Hello learners, welcome to NIOS Studio. I'm Nagma and I'm going to discuss with you today basic communication at workplace. Now you must realize that communication is very essential for the execution of any idea or any notion that you have at workplace, and if you are not unable to communicate effectively, then all your wonderful ideas, your creative genius fails, and therefore it is very essential to be able to communicate to your receivers very effectively. Now, in basic communication, we have a sender. The sender has a message, and that message has to be received by the person at the other end. And at the other end, you will find that if your message has gone effectively, then you will definitely get a very positive response, or you will get some sort of feedback, and that is very essential for basic communication. However, you will find that for basic communication at workplace, you need to have certain basic tips which will make you a very communicative person, very effective communicative person. And now, our main objectives in this program is to explain to you soft and hard skills. Now, everyone knows about hard skills because hard skills are something in which you get trained, right? You get your degree in that, you are trained in IT, or you are trained in your, say, your business communication, or you are trained in, say, your B.Ed, teaching methods and methodology. But if you do not have the communication skills, which are basically dependent on your soft skills, you would find that you are unable to be a very effective communicator. Now, hard skills are something which are essential for your degree. Your degree is in fact in hard skill, right? However, you find that if it is not combined with your soft skills, you normally are unable to communicate your ideas, and you would find that sometimes your wonderful ideas fall flat. And you wonder, why is it that despite having so much of training, you are not able to communicate your ideas effectively? And therefore, you would find that soft skills are very essential for for the communication of ideas. What are these soft skills, right? Let's see. Soft skills are basically those which are non-tangible. That is, when you say soft skills, they are basically dependent on your body language, your expression, your eye contact, and your ability to be able to communicate non-verbally a particular idea, right? Soft skills comprise of the basics, as you can see, communication skills, which are dependent, as you later see as we will later discuss, on, say, your pronunciation, your grammar, your language skills, etc. However, apart from that, you will find that decision making is also very important. What do you mean by decision making? That is, can you think out of the box? Can you make on the spur a particular decision, right? Can you immediately think of a particular action which you ought to be taking, although there may be some pre-decided ideas. However, they may not be very appropriate for a particular situation, and therefore you have to make quick decision. And therefore, decision making is one of the tenets of soft skill, right? Then, of course, there is self-motivation. Well, if you're not motivated yourself, it's unlikely that you're able to motivate your team or your particular idea. So therefore, self-motivation is very important, where you would be able to somehow tell yourself, and when you tell yourself, you are in a way somehow transferring that particular motivated aspect to your listeners, to your viewers, to your audience, to your team people, etc. So self-motivation is very important, because if you are not motivated yourself, it's very unlikely that you would be able to motivate others in your team, in your classroom, in your, say, workplace. So it's very, very important to be motivated. And when you say motivated, that is, as you have already seen, that you are able to take decisions, you're able to think of an action plan, you are able to tell yourself that you can do a particular thing, even though you may have some apprehensions, but you have to overcome those. And then you have to motivate yourself in that way. You will find that you are able to motivate others too. So self-motivation is also very central to, say, the next point, that is leadership skills. Now, leadership skills, as you can see, are also dependent on decision making and self-motivation, right? If you are, some people are naturally, they have these natural leadership skills. They have these inbuilt, ability to take decisions quickly. But somehow, if you just teach yourself to take the other two, that is decision making, and if you are able to motivate yourself, it is not, impossible to develop these skills. And this leadership skill is where you would be able to take the initiative, right? So a leader is one who takes the initiative and is able to carry forward a particular idea and see that it is executed and that it reaches its final, final destination. Now, leadership does not mean, that's my next point, leadership does not mean that you are self-centered, that you would like to put only yourself forward, that you would like to, be so self-motivated that you put others, others' interests behind you, right? So it's also very important for a good leader to take his team or her team along with her, right? So team working skills are also very, very important. A good leader is one person who is able to carry the whole team with her or with him, and he would be able to somehow motivate them, would be able to convince them that the decision that she or he has taken is a very good decision. And therefore, the whole team starts working on those lines, and then you can see that it can culminate into a wonderful, solution. Perhaps sometimes it may be that the team working skills are able to make you bring about a particular successful program to its final end, to its finality, right? So for that, you notice that if whether you are a leader or whether you are a team worker, you should be able to put your creativity to the fore, right? And also related with your creativity is the problem-solving skills. Sometimes it so happens that you may have a particular problem and you cannot, find the orthodox method or the usual methods of solving a particular problem. And there you've got to motivate your team workers as well as yourself and look at various creative solutions to a particular problem. It could be an out-of-the-box solution, and you would be able to apply that to a particular problem, and then with the help of your own creativity and the creativity of your team workers, you are able to somehow find a solution and you are able to solve that particular problem. And that way you can have an successful execution of your ideas or your plans, right? Also, connected with all the above skills is the time management and ability to work under pressure skill. Now, most of the time in your workplace, you'll find that you're running out of time. You are constantly told to finish the work within time limit, all right? That adds pressure to not only your team, but also you are working under pressure. You've got, a deadline given, you've got a fixed, time limit given to you, and you are unable to meet sometimes that particular time limit. And there you've got to find how the ways and means of, using all your other skills of decision making, leadership skills, bringing your team into work, your creativity, and your ability to solve problems, right? Here, somehow it is very, very important to finish work on time, because time and tide, as you know, work waits for nobody, and a work executed after time is no work at all. You'll hardly get any credit for that, and that work, all your hard work and all the work that you have put in will come to naught if you're not able to finish your work in time. And therefore, there is a constant pressure on all the team workers as well as the leader, and you'll find that it's very, very important for you to finish a given work in a particular time limit, right? So therefore, time management is of utmost important. You will find that you've got to work within the given time, and for that you've got to find shortcuts. You've got to find ways and means of, somehow making a very effective use of that given time that you have on hand. And you have got to motivate your team workers. You've got to take quick decisions. You've got to, use all your creative skills. And with the help of all these, you are able to somehow finish your work on time. And then you'll find then it will be proved that you are definitely a very successful time manager, and you have been able to bring about your work to a successful conclusion, right? Now, we come to your basic diagram where you can see that your message is basically how your message is communicated, right? So you can see that a sender, or as you say, encoder. What is an encoder? An encoder is a person who's coding a message. Your message is coded or is sent through a sender, right? You could be that sender, right? And the message that you have encoded, right, is the idea, is your plan, is a particular message, is an idea or a plan that is actually your message, right? So that particular message is received, right? You can use a particular, and what happens then? It has to meet a particular receiver or a decoder, right? So you've got to use very effective channels. What could be? Those channels could be verbal or non-verbal. We'll discuss that later. However, whether you're using a verbal channel or a non-verbal channel, your message has to reach the receiver or the decoder, who will further decode your message and then send you a feedback, right? A feedback is actually a response. The response to your message, to your plan, your idea, your creative, spark that you've just sent through a message. And if it has been received positively, definitely you will get a positive feedback. If there's some confusion, again, that too will be sent back to you in the way of a response or a feedback. You can further receive it and decode it further on your end, and then your message, the final communication, will be taking place in that manner, right? Now, as I pointed out to you earlier, that message can use various channels, and as I said, that there could be types and types of communication. So there could be a verbal communication and there could be a non-verbal communication, right? So a verbal communication is naturally, as you can see, conversation. You can meet face to face, you can discuss a particular idea, you can thrash it out, you can discuss, you can disagree. So conversation is a very quick way of communication, all right? The next one is a telephone call, which again is a type of verbal but a sort of distanced, and there is a barrier because there is a particular instrument and it has to follow wavelengths, etc. So you get a telephone call, right? So if you are able to receive a telephone call effectively, that is on both sides again, you've got the encoder and at the other end you have the decoder. So the encoder again is sending his message or her message through a call, and the call has to be received effectively. Now, for a call to be received effectively, for the message to be decoded, you will find that you need to have clarity of sound, clarity of pronunciation, clarity of grammatical skills. Otherwise, you will be misheard, misunderstood, right? So it's very, very important to have a very clear sort of, skill when you are using or effectively for a telephone call. Then of course you have presentations. Presentations again, it's a sort of, you have an audience, you have prepared your PPT, or you've prepared your, you've used a whiteboard, or you have got your own plan, and you can use it at that time. And you are there, of course, in person, and you are making your presentation, and people can ask you immediately if they have any doubt or any confusion, right? So that would be your presentation, which is by and large oral, right? The next is meeting. And in meetings, again, you'll find that, again, it is interpersonal. There are a group of people sitting. There is a chairperson. There is a secretary. People are taking down notes. And you are able to communicate to them effectively through oral communication also. That, again, it's a sort of verbal, where you are able to somehow meet people face to face, discuss problems effectively, right? The last is group discussions, where you've got a large group of people sitting in a circle probably, or perhaps in a seminar room, and there's somebody who initiates the topic. There are others who are putting their points of view on the board, right? There's enough input verbally, and you are able to thrash out a particular problem, and you are able to, somehow come to a conclusion, or at least reach a plan of action. So group discussions are also a way of communicating ideas or plans, and basically exchanges between people and people, right? So all these are verbal communications. Now, you also have another channel for communication, and that is non-verbal. Now, non-verbals are normally through mails, through letters, right? Through circulars, etc., through MOMs, right? Then the last is, and we really, these are all written in written form. They're sent through, you don't have any personal contact. You just receive it impersonally. You decode it yourself. You can respond to it through a mail again, through a phone, through a particular letter, right? So you can see. And the last is body language, right? When sometimes you'll notice that you don't speak, but sometimes your silence is more effective than words, right? So when you look at, when you have a proper body language, in all these, especially in verbal communication, you'll find that body language plays a very, very important role. How does it play? Suppose if you are taking part in group discussion, if you're too aggressive, you see, people will hardly pay attention to what you're saying, because they are intimidated by your action, and they probably, dismiss your ideas by saying that this person is too self-promoting and things like that. If you're too diffident again, if you sit back and you are not able to communicate your ideas, there you can see that you will hardly be able to say what you have on your mind, and your ideas will not be communicated to people, right? Also, you find that if you have a pleasant demeanor, if you are even disagreeing, right? If you, when you can, of course, put it in a very polite manner, your non-aggressive style, your friendly demeanor, your smile, your eye contact, right? Your puts other people, in at ease, and you are able to communicate your ideas. People may not agree with you, but somehow you are able to communicate your ideas effectively if you're polite, if you have got a pleasant demeanor, if you have a non-aggressive body language, if you make an eye contact, right? And if you're smiling through your ideas, even if you disagree, right? There could be several, barriers to communication. What do I mean by barriers? Barriers meaning that despite your best effort, you'll find that your ideas are not being communicated. There could be many factors, right? One could be distraction. Either the speaker is distracted, in the sense, haven't you seen that when you are speaking on the phone, and if you are, making tea for yourself, you can hardly be very, very communicative. You are half listening to the person on the phone, right? or the person who's speaking to you directly, right? So you are distracted, and in that way, that becomes a barrier to communication, all right? Then lack of knowledge too. You do not know your matter well, or you're not aware of what is being said, right? Effectively, or you have not prepared your homework properly, you have not worked on your plan, and therefore, or the other person is not ready with a proper details of the plan that's going to be put into action. That could be again, you are then talking at cross purposes. You are not able to communicate your ideas properly, and therefore, if you really want to make your communication very effective, see that you are prepared. See that you come with all your points ready, and you are able to communicate your ideas very effectively. Therefore, you can remove this particular barrier. So, lack of knowledge on both sides, at the end of the receiver as well as at the other end of the person who is sending the message. If you are not well prepared, if you are not aware of what you're talking, you can hardly make sense, right? Then, of course, noise. That is sometimes beyond your control, right? Suppose you're speaking to a particular person or to a group of people, or if you are attending a particular meeting and you're speaking, the mic is not working properly, or people are speaking among themselves, or there's a constant noise outside, or there is a procession going out, or there's too much of distance between the speaker and the listener, you can be sure that your ideas or your communication will not be very effective, in the sense that perhaps your voice is not reaching them. Perhaps even if your voice is reaching them, then it is perhaps muffled, so you can hardly be heard on the other side, right? So noise is one particular barrier. Of course, you can close your windows, you can see to it that the environment in which you're speaking is soundproof, that your mics and your instruments of communication are, absolutely in good order. So perhaps you can remove that particular barrier, all right? Work pressure. Sometimes you are so much under pressure of work that you are unable to complete your sentences effectively, or you are able to present your ideas effectively in a more coherent or cohesive manner, right? So under work pressure, your mind is so troubled and you are so much, under pressure that you are not speaking with clarity, right, or precision. So your ideas are not communicated effectively, right? Then naturally, the logical outcome of work pressure is fatigue. You are so tired that you are unable to speak effectively. You are so exhausted that you just don't bother. You would say, well, I really would not want to spell out my idea. I'm too fatigued. I'm too tired. Let them make any sense out of whatever they're, hearing. It's really not my, not my cup of tea to be effective now, because I'm just too tired. And well, you are not fully into your elements, and you are hardly able to communicate your ideas effectively, right? Then inactive listening. That is most of the time a great barrier to communication. When people are not paying attention to you, they are probably, in these days you can see that this is a major problem with people, because they're all the time on their mobiles. Either they're texting, or they're listening to some phone call, or they're watching some program on their mobiles, that it becomes very difficult to, somehow get their attention. And therefore, it becomes, whatever you're trying to communicate, there's a great barrier, because people are not paying attention to you at all. Inactive listening, you're not paying attention at all. You're not actively listening to people. So if you really want to make your ideas clear to people, first see to it that they become active listeners. That is, they are paying attention to you. They put away, in one of the effective methods is to ask people to switch off their mobiles, right? Or to put away all their work, and to be able and to listen to you, so that they are able to understand what you're trying to say, right? The next is limited vocabulary, right? Sometimes you are unable to communicate because you are searching for words. You have a limited vocabulary. Words don't come to you, right? Or the other person, the receiver too, has a limited vocabulary and is unable to understand what you're trying to say, perhaps because he does not know the meaning of the words you're using. And sometimes you are also, searching for words. You say, well, really, the actual word doesn't come to me, right? So you are unable to somehow communicate very effectively because you do not have a vocabulary which would be adequate enough to be able to communicate your ideas. Right? So limited vocabulary is one such thing. One way to remove it is to improve your reading skills, to be able to somehow develop your vocabulary, to expand your vocabulary, and of course, perhaps use appropriate words for a given audience so that you are not using words which they are unable to understand, your receivers is unable to understand, right? So then you can look at the last one, that is accent, right? Accent is also very important, right? It depends on your effective, accent is very, very important because if you accentuate your words or you miss wrongly or if you mispronounce them, then naturally you are hardly able to communicate what you're trying to say. Well, here you'll find that somehow your mother tongue influence or your first language influence plays, somehow plays on your effectiveness, and you're unable to speak effectively, and you're unable to communicate your ideas, and your ideas are not received properly, right? In that case, you can see that you can somehow improve upon your pronunciation, see how a particular word is pronounced, and see that you are able to somehow communicate to your audience, in a better manner, right? So if we just list out what could be the methods quickly of improving or removing these barriers, when we look at distraction, what remedy can we have? We can, of course, as opposed to distraction, you have listening. You've got to listen properly. You've got to ensure that your receiver is, listening to you, right? Then for lack of knowledge, you can ask the people to be better prepared, to probe, to explore, to research, and to be able to, somehow get a particular body of knowledge for a particular given topic, right? Then when you look at work pressure, you can see that under work pressure, you normally lack concentration, right? So you can help yourself, and in fact, you can ask your viewers to concentrate on the plan or the message that is being sent to you, right? Then, of course, you have fatigue. For that, you've got many ways. You can rest, you can sleep well. Sleeping well is one way of fighting fatigue, right? If you're rested, if your mind is at peace, and if you are then you would be in a more healthy state of mind, and you would be able to, communicate effectively. Also, if you are speaking to an audience which is already, very fatigued on other side, right? You again would find that you can, of course, not ask them to sleep well, but of course, you can see to it that you give them a break. You can perhaps ask them to come back after refreshing themselves after a cup of tea or so, right? So that could be one way of removing fatigue for some time, right? Then you can say in active listening, here you can have better equipments which will capture the attention of your audience and make your words more clear, your sound very effective, so you are able to somehow remove this particular barrier. Then again, vocabulary and accent, as I pointed out to you earlier, you can develop your vocabulary, you can expand it by developing your reading skills, by listening to various programs on pronunciation or accents, familiarize yourself. See that you're able to familiarize yourself with the accents of a particular language, right? So that way you would be able to remove these barriers of communication. The components for verbal communication are as follows: words, grammar, accent, pronunciation, stress and modulation, rate of speech, pause management, and MTI and FLI. That is mother tongue influence and first language influence, right? We shall be discussing all these later in a later program, right? So I would like, in fact, to discuss voice modulation, right? Well, voice modulation is very, very important, because if you are speaking in an impolite manner, or if you are not paying attention to your voice modulation, it is quite likely that your communication will not be effective at all. All right? People may not be able to understand what you are saying. Also, you may be miscommunicating, right? So, modulation is actually the rise and fall of the cadence of your language, of your speech, right? So, let's see what is voice modulation. It's a change in the manner in which we speak and the volume which we employ according to the situation. We modulate, all right, according to who we are talking to, right? If we are talking to our seniors, naturally our modulation would be different. If we are talking to our equals, we'll be talking in a different manner, all right? Also, dependent on what voice modulation you'd find is the conveying of a particular content, right? So it's very, very important that we modulate our voices, our speech, so that we are able to communicate effectively, right? And how do we modulate our speech? We have to take into consideration the context of the situation, right? And also we've got to factor in the emotions that we want to convey, and also the words we are using, right? So for that, you would find that we have got to pay attention to the volume, What do you mean volume? To what extent are you going to raise your voice, which is volume will be dependent on the accent, the force that you apply to a particular word or to a particular sentence, to the pitch, to the tone, and to pause management, all right? So if you look at the volume, all right, if you're speaking too loudly, it is quite likely that you will not be heard at all. Sometimes we think that if we raise our voice, we'll be heard effectively. Sometimes we think that if we are shouting out our ideas, perhaps they will be, received easily, which is not so. In fact, it is very, very important to pay attention to the type of the rise and fall of your speech, right? And that is dependent on your pitch. And what is pitch? It is the high and low of your speech, the length and the breadth of your communication, right? Your voice, the sound that you're making through your speech organs, right? So pitch is very, very important. Like if you are going to ask a question, right? You can hardly use a flat pitch, right? So you will find that, especially in English, in fact, all the questions are asked in a raised pitch. All the statements are made into a slightly lower pitch, right? You can even drop your voice to create some drama, right? So it's very, very effective to pay attention to the pitch, also to the tone. Is your tone aggressive? Are you using a formal tone or an informal one? Naturally, you have got to see the context and to the person that you're speaking to, right? So tone is very important in the sense that if your tone is impolite, people are going to dismiss your ideas straight away, right? Politeness, a polite tone is very important, and that polite tone would not mean that you are using a very sugary or a saccharine sweet tone. It should be very appropriate in the sense it's non-aggressive, it puts your receiver at ease, and the tone conveys various emotions that you have. If You can use a friendly tone, you can use an authoritative tone, you can use a very conciliatory tone, in the sense that if you are disagreeing, even then you have got to use a conciliatory tone, in the sense that you say, all right, I do not agree with you, I agree to disagree with you somehow, my honored friend here. So what are you doing over here? You are using a tone which is very polite. You are not using a very aggressive or a tone which puts the other person at disease, right? Not very comfortable, right? Let's look at the pause management. Like if you're going to use your speech, if you're going to use your language, or if you're going to use your language skills effectively, then pause management is very crucial, in the sense that you have got to see that you don't speak in a garbled manner. What do you mean by garbled manner? That your words do not come tumbling all over, right? There's no overlapping of sound, that there is a certain clarity, and for that it is very, very important that you give a pause to your sentences. And if you want to make it very effective, then you should know when to use your pause effectively, right? So, so these are the factors that help you to modulate your voice, all right? Then you can see that you have your content words and your function words. We shall discuss that later, right? However, there are some tips that you can use. They can come in use, right? For example, if you really want to look at various volume and various factors that you've learned on good communication, you can look at some of the tips over here. You can say, if you're greeting, there's some styles of greeting, as you can say. Like you can say hi or hello, good morning, good afternoon, according to the time of the day, right? How are you? How are things? How have you been? How have you been? Right? Do you notice that when you are asking a question, you raise your pitch, and of course the tone is over here, friendly, polite. Okay, it can be anytime, anywhere. That is, it could be in between formal and informal, right? And naturally, no greeting is complete without a smile, right? So while you are expressing these sentences, you must see to it that you greet your friend or anyone for that matter, even a stranger, with a smile and politeness, all right? Then you can stay relaxed and answer questions with confidence, right? You can mention if you're unsure of anything, that is, if you're unsure of anything that is being asked, you can say, don't feel shy, don't feel inhibited, don't feel diffident, right? It is always, for effective communication, it's very, very important that you are able to express your ideas, and if you're unable to understand a thing, it would be of great use if you are able to voice your doubts, your confusion. So do not hesitate in mentioning anything that you have not been, confident of, or if you are unable to understand, right? Also, speak with clarity and select your words with care, right? So clarity, brevity, lucidity, all these are very, very important to you. In fact, if you're speaking to a particular person, you've got to see to it that your words are enunciated in a clear manner, right? That they're received properly by the other person, so that he is able to, or she is able to, decode your message, right? So you've got to select your words with great care. With all the points that we have discussed earlier, do make a choice of words that would be effective, which would be able to communicate your ideas with clarity, right? Then make your statements positive. Negativity never helps, right? So if you are making a statement, even if you're disagreeing, as I pointed out to you earlier, it is very, very important to stay positive, right? So even if you are disagreeing, you can say, yes, I'm sure you have made a very wonderful point, but I would like to point out to you this particular, I would like to clarify my position. So you are able to make your statement positive. So although you are disagreeing, all right, but you have not added any negative element to it. So remain positive and you will see that your ideas will be received very, very happily, very effectively, right? Of course, enthusiasm. You cannot remain absolutely lackluster or without energy. So if you are not yourself motivated, if you are not yourself enthusiastic about your message or about your ideas, you can hardly be expected, you can hardly expect, your audience to be enthusiastic about it. So do put some life in your message. Do, especially in a verbal communication, you have got to see to it that you appear positive, enthusiastic, so that your ideas are also received in like spirit, right? Then, of course, the last but not the least, appropriate body language, right? As you said, that if you remain positive, if you're enthusiastic, you're not jumping out you don't have to bounce about, but definitely you must see to it that your body language conveys a positivity, right? You are not, you are yourself in a relaxed state. If you remain in a relaxed state, if you have a smiling demeanor, and if you have good eye contact, and if you are using words very politely with correct volume and pitch, there is no reason why your ideas will not be communicated to the other person, in a more effective manner. Therefore, effective, appropriate body language is the most crucial, and it is also a part of your soft skills. So remember that if you really want to ensure that your idea, your creativity, your imagination reaches your decoder, that is the person at the other end, you should keep all these tips in mind. Thank you.